So on March 2nd, 2022, my newsletter company got a letter with the subject line policy violation from our brand new email service provider saying that we violated their policies, we violated their terms, and because of that, they were not going to let us send more emails out, which essentially would shut down our business. Market Briefs is a daily financial newsletter. The way that we make money is we create an email breakdown of what's going on in the financial world. We send it out to our readers. The email is free, but we monetize by getting sponsors and advertisers for our newsletters. Our brand new email service provider that we just started working with told us that we broke their policies by having a sponsor related to mortgages and refinance, and then we later found out that if we talked about any sponsor that's related to financial services, from mortgages to refinancing to student loans to cryptocurrency to stock trading, all of these things would break their policies and we would not be allowed to send these emails, which would effectively shut down our business because we are a financial newsletter and we talk about all things finance. I started Market Briefs kind of on accident. I was already making videos on YouTube talking about what's going on in the financial world. I was already talking about financial education, but I was looking for an easier way for me to stay on top of what's happening in the finance and business world. I mean, I did not like having to go to Yahoo Finance and CNBC and Market Watch and Wall Street Journal and Forbes every single day trying to stay up to date on what's going on. So I put together a team to help curate a newsletter which would keep me up to date on what's going on in the finance and business world. When I first started the newsletter, I talked about it here and there on a YouTube channel, but I really didn't know how we would make money on it. It was really just an easy way for me to stay up to date on what's happening in the finance and business world without having to spend hours researching so many different sites. In the beginning, we didn't have a lot of people getting the newsletter. I mean, for a long time, it was only going out to a couple thousand people, but the people that did get the newsletter really liked it. And that's when I started to think I can just leverage some of the sponsors and advertisers that I have on YouTube, because these are companies that I like and I trust, and most of them I already use myself. I can leverage these and use these sponsors into our newsletter. And over the last couple of years, this newsletter grew to just over 70,000 people. But what's interesting is that out of the 70,000 people that subscribe to our free newsletter, we have between 40 to 45% of our readers opening and reading the newsletter every single day. So we have an open rate of 40 to 45%, which means that almost half of our subscribers are reading our newsletter every single day, which when you compare it to industry standards is pretty high. Now it's the end of 2021 and we hired our first salesperson for this newsletter, and at the time our newsletter is still under the Minority Mindset brand. It's just called the Minority Mindset newsletter because I started the newsletter really just as a tool to help me keep up to date on what's going on, but now it's starting to grow. And I took a week and I went to Boca Raton, Florida to go on a thinking trip. Now this was the first time I did this, and my whole goal of going to Florida was to do work, but not to do the normal work that I was doing every single day here in the office. It was to go there and think. So I was away from a lot of technology. I was away from a lot of things where I was just alone. I had a notepad and I would go to the beach and I would just think. The big questions that kept coming in my mind again and again and again is, what is Minority Mindset? What is Jaspreet Singh? What is my company? I needed to start differentiating this because Minority Mindset was getting so confusing. I would go out and somebody would recognize me outside and they would say, oh my God, you're Minority Mindset. And I would say, yeah, and we'd talk. And then I'd always think, am I Minority Mindset or is Minority Mindset my company? What is my company? And this is where I was really facing a dilemma because I'm an entrepreneur. I never wanted to be famous. I never cared about having fans. I never cared about being a celebrity. For me, I wanted to build a business. I like being an entrepreneur. I wanted to provide value. That's why I'd been working on creating so many different products, but all these products were under the Minority Mindset name, and that's where it got confusing because most people associate me with Minority Mindset, but I was looking at Minority Mindset like a company. And that's where I realized that I needed to separate this. Jaspreet Singh is Minority Mindset, and my companies are my companies that I'm working to grow, and I can use my brand Minority Mindset to help grow my companies. So that was when, in the very beginning part of 2022, I made the decision that I was going to separate my companies from Minority Mindset. Minority Mindset is going to be Jaspreet Singh, and we started to make the transition, in this case for the newsletter, to separate the newsletter. That way it would no longer be called the Minority Mindset newsletter. It would now be called Market Briefs. It was a hard decision, but it made a lot of sense after we did it because now I can focus on growing my personal brand and I can focus on growing my companies, one of which is Market Briefs. So now Market Briefs becomes its own entity. It has its own tax ID number, it has its own bank account, it has its own everything. And now we need to separate the Market Briefs email system from the Minority Mindset emails. When you're sending out newsletters to a whole bunch of people, you can't just send it out from your Gmail account. You have to use something called an email service provider. And up until then, we had been using something called Keep from Minority Mindset. Now I I like Keep. It's a very good product, but it didn't give me the design flexibility and the analytics that I was looking for our newsletter. So my developer and I started looking around for a new email service provider that we could use for now market briefs. We came across a pretty cool company called ConvertKit, which is designed specifically for email newsletters, and they offered a lot of tools and a lot of analytics made for companies just like ours. So we decided to go with ConvertKit. Now, I don't want to give the false impression that I'm trying to sit here and bash ConvertKit. They have a good product, they have a good team. It just wasn't a great fit for us. Now, switching email service providers isn't just like the click of a button. You have to rebuild your trust and your authority with your new email service provider, because now you're sending emails from a different infrastructure. And so if you don't want your emails to end up in your promotions folder or your junk folder or your spam folder, you have to rebuild this trust. So it's a very delicate process when you make this transition. And before we even started this transition, we spent hours talking to their sales team and their migration team to make sure that they would be a good fit for us. We told them about what our company did. We told them about how our company operated. They reviewed our newsletters. They liked what we had. And so once we decided that they were the right product for us, we started this migration process, which also took weeks. We started our migration from Keep, our old email service provider, to ConvertKit, our new email service provider, in the first week of February. And we were facing some difficulties, because we went from having a 40 to a 45% open rate in our emails down to a 20 to 22% open rate in our emails. This migration part was especially painful because now we have subscribers who've been getting our emails and reading our emails every single day, emailing us saying, what's going on? I haven't been receiving your emails. And then we have our sponsors getting upset because now less and less people are seeing our sponsors. So our sponsors are saying, what the heck? We paid for a sponsorship, but we're not getting the returns that we expected. But it's just part of the process. It's growing pains. We just got to get through this temporary issue. That way then we can start building our business again. So we're working with their sales team, we're working with the migration team to help get our email sends up back to normal. And then we get this email in the mail on March 2nd saying that we've been violating their policies. And right after we got this policy violation email, we got a follow-up email from the same person saying, please don't send any more content like this, otherwise they're going to put a pause on our account. Now at this point, I was pretty thrown off guard. A whole Market Briefs team had been stressed because our open rates were not back to where they were before. And now we get this random email from somebody who I have never spoken to before. I've spoken to multiple people on the sales team and the migration team, and we've been working with them almost every single day about getting our account set up. And now we get this random email out of the blue saying that we have violated their policies and now they're threatening to shut down our whole business. I thought it might have been a mistake, so I followed up and I asked why we weren't allowed to send sponsors that were related to mortgages or refinancing. And that's when he responds by saying that they do not allow any financial or educational offers. You can start to see why that's a problem when you are a, financial newsletter. And that was when we found out that we're not allowed to have sponsors related to loans, mortgages, refinances, student loans, health insurance, life insurance, cryptocurrency, and stock trading. Now things really started to get stressful because we have two different teams at Market Briefs. We have the content team, the people that are actually writing the content and putting it together to make the best financial newsletter possible. And then we have our sales team who are working to get sponsors. So our content team is upset because people aren't reading the newsletter, and our sponsor team is upset because now they can't sell sponsorships. And that's when we found out later on that our email system was actually paused. We're not allowed to send any more emails. So that's when we made the decision that we need to go back to Keep and we have to figure something else out. So now we're like playing this game where we spent a month and a half trying to figure out how do we switch over to this new email service system. We just got shut down and now we're going back to the old system while we're trying to figure out how do we move to a new system because our contract with Keep was expiring in the first couple weeks of April. So we're on a very short time span because we needed to get out of Keep before we renew it again, and we needed to find a new system that would let us send emails without all the issues. See, our goal at Market Briefs is to create a win-win-win situation, especially when it comes to our partners, our sponsors. Because if we publish a good sponsor and we have it natively integrated in our newsletter, our readers are going to be happy because now you will enjoy reading the sponsorship, and maybe you find a company or a product that you actually like. Maybe it will help you with your investments. That's good for the reader. It's also good for our partner, our sponsor, because now they're happy because they're going to be getting clicks, they're going to be getting more signups, so they're happy, and we're happy because now we have put out a good product that we believe in and that we trust, and our sponsors are happy, which means we are also making money. So it's a win-win-win situation that we're always trying to create. But now we're being shut down and we're being hurt on all different angles because now our subscribers, our readers are not getting a newsletter. Our partners are not happy because they're not getting the conversions that they were looking for. And so we're upset because we're not able to put out the best product possible. So now we start the searching process all over again. And now we're on hyperspeed. Another thing that was happening was people were signing up for our newsletters, but they didn't start receiving our newsletters because we kept switching email service providers. So if somebody signed up and you did it in that transition period, you might not have transferred the email service provider to a new email service provider. So we were receiving dozens of emails every day with people saying, I didn't start receiving any emails. I signed up, but I'm not getting anything. And this is where I started to get really stressed because now we had a list of hundreds of people that were signing up for our newsletter, but were not receiving our newsletter. And we couldn't bulk upload these people into any of our platforms because one, we didn't have a new email service provider yet. And our contract was ending with Keep. So for whatever reason, we weren't able to upload a whole list of people. So that's when I sat down with my mom actually, and we started manually inputting one by one people back into our email service provider. That way people can actually start receiving our emails, because the last thing I want is for somebody to sign up and expect to start receiving a newsletter and then you don't receive anything. It doesn't look good on our part, doesn't look good on my part, and I didn't want that to happen. So now we literally spent hours inputting people back into the system that way people can start receiving our emails again. That's when we finally found our brand new email service provider, which provides us all the tools, all the analytics, everything that we're looking for and more, and they allow us to send everything that they want. They're more like a partner for us because they align with the same goals that we have. So we finally have a new email service provider. We've been working to get everything back running again, and now Market Briefs is finally starting to work again. And then I get this email from ConvertKit. I'm just gonna read this aloud. It's from the compliance team. It says, I reviewed your account with my leads and I want to apologize for pausing your account and saying that your content was not being accepted on our platform. I made a mistake when pausing your account, as it was pointed out by my lead, and your account should not have been stopped because your sending stats and your content, all in all, even if it has some elements I mentioned earlier, are still a good fit for our platform, and it does not violate any of our terms. Once again, I apologize for this inconvenience. I see that you have canceled your account due to my mistake. Is there anything I can do to get you to change your mind? Again, my goal is not to bash ConvertKit. They have a good product, they have a good service. It just wasn't a great fit for us, but we had to go through this roller coaster where we finally were trying to get things set up. It took us a month to get things set up, and then we found out that our account is being shut down. So now we have to go back to our old system until we can find a new company. Now we're transitioning into the new company when we find out that the new company we originally started working with made a mistake and now they wanted us to come back. And I'm also happy to say that finally, things are finally back up and running for Market Briefs. February and March were a couple of difficult months where we didn't know what was gonna happen, but now things are finally back up and running. People are receiving our newsletters, our readers are happy again, our sponsors are happy again. You know, if you were one of those people that were not receiving emails, I am sorry. I know it was a mess. I was not happy about it. We're trying to do everything that we can to get everything back up and running, and now smooth sailing to build Market Briefs into something a whole lot bigger. So I apologize if you were one of those people that had that delay or disruption in your emails, and I'm gonna make sure that that never happens again. If you enjoyed this video, here's a video on how to build a side hustle empire that I think you'll love. And while you're at it, if you want to subscribe to Market Briefs for free, all you gotta do is click that button down below. Thank you for watching, and as always, keep hustling.
You went from going 0 to like $8 grand a month or something.
Yeah.
As a side hustle.
As a side hustle, dude. I just got married. My wife and I were broke.